To another episode of Stories to Create podcast right here at EAS Club. I am so excited today because I gotta tell you guys, I have a phenomenal individual in the space with us today, and I'm telling you, it's been a while coming. It's been a while coming. She does so much in the Southwest Florida area, and I gotta tell you guys, there's a place on MLK called the Southwest Florida Enterprise Center.
Yes.
And she runs it, people. Help me welcome Miss Phyllis Calloway.
Thank you so much, Cornell. Thank you for having me. I feel so excited just to be in your presence this morning in this beautiful location and just to be able to have a conversation.
Yes. And I've always wanted to have a conversation with you because you're such an interesting individual. And so with this show, what we do, we go back. So we want to take the listeners back, right?
Okay,
we want to take the listeners back to the Phyllis before the Phyllis now.
Okay.
So,
all right.
So where was the upbringing?
My upbringing was Carthage, Mississippi, a small town just north of Jackson.
Okay.
And I was born and raised on a farm.
What?
Yes, getting up, slopping the pigs.
What?
Gathering the eggs.
Yeah?
Cutting cane, making syrup, doing the peanuts, the whole 9 yards.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Farm girl.
Farm girl.
Wow.
Yes, farm girl.
What was your favorite animal on the farm?
A pig.
A pig.
Yeah. You know why? A
Yeah.
pig was sloppy and ugly, but that meat was so good.
It was. This is very true.
Yes.
So you did a lot of that farming stuff. Did that ever affect, going to school and stuff like that? Was there a day you didn't want to go to school?
It did not, because my parents instilled education. My mother was an educator.
Okay.
And my dad basically graduated high school and went to the military, so he was not a postgraduate type person.
Okay.
But what my dad did was not only instill in us how important education was,
Right.
doing the chores on the farm taught us values and integrity
Oh, I like that.
and honesty.
I like that.
Because, when you are out there picking peas and he says that you're supposed to have a bushel of peas,
Yeah.
and we come back with a half bushel and the money is not there,
Yeah.
and the volume is not there, you couldn't lie about it.
Right.
So being born, raised like that on a farm taught me a lot of integrity.
Wow, that is amazing right there. Maybe I've heard this way back, but it's been a little bit to hearing that word bushel.
Yeah, bushel of peas.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you do a lot of the chores on the farm after school?
Before and after school.
Before?
Yes, because my mother would wake us up, my brother and I, it was the two of us, and we would wake up, and of course you have to feed the hogs and water them and make sure all of the animals had what they had.
Okay.
And then you had to feed the chickens. You took your shower, a bath. There was no showers back then.
Yeah.
You took your bath and you'd go to school.
Okay.
When we got home from school, homework was always first.
Okay.
And just before dinner, you would redo the chores all over again in the afternoon. So you built a relationship with not only the animals, but I was the type, I had relationship with some of the trees.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was always the creative one. And my mom used to tell me, your imagination is just too wild.
Yes.
But learning and watching trees grow. Because I'm telling you, born and raised on a farm right down the road, not the street, from my grandfather, who basically said, this is the stuff that you all have to do.
Right.
What God put on this earth is meant to be here, and everything has a purpose.
Yes.
So I used to sit as a little girl and say, I wonder what the purpose of that big tree is other than bearing pecans.
Right.
Because, it was amazing. It would provide shade.
Mm-hmm.
It would provide the greenery. When the wind would blow, you could always tell, okay, there's a storm coming, because it would lean to the left or lean to the right. So I was a tree watcher as well. Yes, I have an obsession with trees.
Oh, my goodness. That is amazing. What was that relationship with your brother?
My brother is phenomenal. He lives in Texas now.
Okay.
And we grew closer as we got older because there was always like a competition going on. My brother was in the band. I played sports.
Okay.
And my father and I had a really close relationship, and my mother and my brother had a really close relationship. Wow. So it was always like, I'm trying to please my dad, so I gotta outdo my brother.
Okay.
Quick story.
Yes.
We used to have to cut bean sticks to cut, to stick in the ground so that the bean sprouts could grow, the vines could grow up, so you could pull them. We'd go in the woods to cut these bean sticks, and my brother would have like 3 or 4 in his arm. I gotta come back with 10 or 15, Ooh. And I'm walking and just trying to make sure that I'm outdoing my brother. And my dad would take notice to that. If your sister can do that and she's younger than you, what's wrong with you, boy? But it, it was a kind of a competition.
Right.
But as we got older, my brother and I, we started talking about when we were children and how we grew up. And we would laugh. We can laugh about it now. Yeah. But he said, I was always my mama's favorite. Wow. Well, as a girl, I kind of took a step back because I should have been the favorite because I learned a lot about being a woman by watching my mother and my grandmother and my aunts. But I really learned a lot more after becoming a grown woman after college.
After college?
After college.
Wow.
Because I found myself not knowing a lot. Being born and raised on a farm, there was no skate parties. You didn't go bowling. There wasn't a lot of extracurricular activities up in the little town.
Right.
Because mind you, Cornell, it was still very separated.
Oh, okay.
The blacks didn't have a skating rink.
Oh,
when we would go to the doctors, it was a white waiting room and a black waiting room. What? Negro is what it said.
What?
And it was funny when after I got married and I getting ready to celebrate 40 years.
Oh my
so
goodness.
This will tell you about the time frame.
Right.
When I first took my husband to Carthage, Mississippi,
yes,
and I had told him about all of this, he didn't believe me coming from Detroit.
Right.
So I took him to the same optometrist that has been in that city forever.
Yeah.
And when we walked in, even though the signs are not there anymore, the blacks were sitting on one side and the whites.
Wow.
It was instilled in people.
Yeah.
And that was one thing that my dad told me after I graduated high school. When you finish college, I need you to leave the state of Mississippi.
Yeah.
Because I'm afraid with my mouth and the activisms that I was doing, he was just afraid for me.
Right.
I had a good friend in high school that was killed because he was dating a white girl. And they lynched him. And the A.C. McSwain story hit the news, and this was actually after the 3 civil rights workers in Philadelphia, Mississippi. Philadelphia was only 15 miles from where I was born and raised.
Wow.
And we didn't go to Philadelphia.
Yeah.
But these 3 civil rights members that came to try to help us live better lives were killed. And you know,
they were killed?
They were killed. These 3 civil rights workers were killed in Philadelphia, Mississippi.
Wow.
Yes, but coming down to help my parents, along with other people in their generations, to register to vote.
Wow.
This was in the early 60s, yes.
Man.
And so I lived through all of that.
Yeah.
But what it did for me, I didn't get angry.
Yeah.
I was frustrated.
Right.
And saying, as just like today, I said there has to be a better way.
Yes.
If we start looking at people as people, instead of the color of their skin, I think I know we would live in a better place.
Oh, most definitely.
But growing up in that environment, coming from a farm, then going to college, and then postgraduate college, you start pulling it together as where you fit in and what that purpose for me is.
Right.
And so I just started focusing more on my purpose and how I could make a change in various lives.
Wow. With that going on, what was your level of fear going into college?
My level of fear was, I'm going to say I wasn't afraid and I wasn't intimidated.
Okay.
It was what's going to happen.
Right.
It was the anticipation.
Okay.
Now, my parents made me. Now, mind you, I had a basketball scholarship.
Wow.
And I could have won. I had 3 different offers, out of state and in state.
Yeah.
But being the baby girl,
right.
my mom says, I don't care what you do after college.
Yeah.
But because I was so, my parents was very strict. I didn't have a boyfriend.
Okay. Oh, man.
I had a friend that could come over on Sunday afternoons.
Okay.
After church.
Okay.
And we could sit on the couch.
Yeah.
One on each side. But, there was none of that staying on the phone.
Yeah.
My brother and I used to, when my mom and dad would go to bed, we got a phone in the house. We used to take turns and watch and make sure they would sleep so we could talk to our little friends.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I had a great childhood. I'm not complaining about it, but man, was it strict.
Yeah.
But when I went to college, my very first year, Cornell, I went wild.
Yeah.
I did, because I had lived this restricted life.
Okay, yeah.
For so long. I mean, like I said, I remember, I'm tell this another quick story. I had the little boy that I was so in love with, I thought. I played basketball.
Yeah.
And I told my mom, who was a school teacher at the same high school I went to.
Okay.
I said, Daddy said it's okay if this young man pick me up and take me home.
Yeah.
And she's like, your daddy said that? I said, he said that.
Yeah.
So what I did, I had the guy go up by where my dad worked, and I said, Dad, Mom said it's okay if this young man take me home. So, this young man was able to take me home, but something just didn't click right with my mom and dad.
Okay.
We hadn't been there a half hour, and here comes my mom driving in. And she was supposed to stay after school for a teacher's meeting.
Right.
I couldn't lie. It was like every time I told a lie, I got caught.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, it's not even worth it. So I just started telling the truth, and my dad says, you're too brutally honest.
Yeah. Wow.
And I says, well, I don't know why all the other girls can have boyfriends, and after a basketball game, they go out and celebrate.
Right.
And I was a star player.
Yeah.
I never got a chance to go out and celebrate. My parents took me home, and my parents never missed a game.
That's amazing.
Whether it was on a school night, a weekend tournament, whatever. Yeah. My mom and dad was always out there, so I could look for that reassurance.
Yeah.
But at that time, I didn't look at it as reassurance and support.
I
looked at it as they don't even trust me at a school basketball game, and I'm one of the star players.
Right.
But looking back over all of that with my childhood, it was still teaching me.
Yeah.
But, as kids, we don't look at it like that. You know, we have the worst parents in the world. We have the worst childhood until one day you wake up and say, thank God for the way I was raised. And my brother and I say that all the time.
That is amazing. Wow. So did you guys win a championship for the basketball team?
We did. We my junior and senior year in high school, we took the state champs.
That's amazing.
Yes, and I was all state, got all state, all regional, and all district.
Oh my goodness, that is amazing. So in college, you didn't follow up basketball in college?
I did. I played basketball in junior college.
Okay.
I went to the junior college first because my parents was like, you're really not ready to go so far away from home. Because like I said, I was raised very strict.
Yeah.
There was a lot of things I didn't know, and I found out my first year in college, I was naive.
Okay.
Did not know what naivety was then.
Right.
But I was very naive. I was a follower, if you will.
Okay, yeah.
Because I wanted to do what the other girls were doing.
Right.
They had boyfriends. They would take the car. My parents bought me a car, and because I had a car, I had a lot of friends.
Right.
So when you have the transportation and a little money in your pocket, you got a lot of friends.
Yeah.
So I was very naive to the point of being used a lot, but didn't really realize that until I went to the Delta State University.
Okay.
After graduating with my associates in junior college, I went to a senior college up in Cleveland, Mississippi, Delta.
Wow.
That is where I became mature.
Okay.
I pledged Delta Sigma Theta.
Okay.
And those sisters were phenomenal.
Awesome.
I learned a lot about becoming a woman from the sisterhood.
Wow.
And that is why now it instilled in me a lot of the more being honest with yourself. I could be honest with everybody else, but I wasn't truthful to myself.
Wow, you still keep in contact with the sisters?
I do. It was 11 of us online, and I keep in contact with the majority of them. Unfortunately, we've lost 6 of them.
Okay.
You know, it's like I said, this was back in the 70s, 77, 78.
Right.
So there, you know, we've lost quite a few, but we do keep in contact with each other. So when I go home once a year, I try to make those phone calls, and if anyone is there in town or coming to visit, you know, we connect.
You connect. That's amazing. Wow. You know, I've always been fascinated with the way those units do it in college, and you call them sort of beta sisters. And then you got the guys there.
What are fraternities?
Fraternities, man.
Yes, and it's amazing now. One of my very close high school friends, my mother is 92 years old. She still lives in Mississippi in our house where we were born and raised. Right. And she lives alone. Oh. I have a high school friend that we were friends all through high school. Right. She stops in 3-4 times a week to help take care of my mother.
That's amazing.
That's the type of bonds that I have with people back home.
Because you was that star.
We loved each other. It was unconditional. You know, being raised in a small town, everyone are related for the most part, and then people move in from others, and they become part of the family. Right. So you just have that connection. Yeah. And my mother is the oldest in her community, still going to the same church, the family church. Oh, yeah. Shout out to Tribulation MB Church. I used to call it Troublation, but Tribulation MB Church. And my mother is the oldest member there. Okay. And so during COVID, it was a little odd because she would not let anyone in her house. Wow. No one, not even in her family. Right. My brother and I could not go visit her. She's like, y'all doing all right? Yes, ma'am. Well, y'all just stay where you are. Don't come because I'm not letting you in. So it was hard, and we worried about her. Right. But members of the church would bring food and different things that she needed from town and set it at the door. Wow. And she would wait for them to leave, thank them, and she'd bring it in the house. Wow. She was that strict, still that strict. She is, Wow. She's a very private person. Yeah. She loves to talk on the phone, but you're not going to get into business. My mother was one of those, what happens in this house stays in this house.
That is amazing. Wow. So you're done with college, you say, you know what? What's my next move? Was it Florida or where?
No, my next move, I'm going to tell you, I did an internship at the Bolivar County Sheriff's Department. Okay. Because my major was criminal justice. Okay. So during that time, it wasn't a lot of black women in law enforcement. Right. The FBI came in, and they were trying to set up some cases. Right. In the Mississippi Delta of things that was going on. So I had the opportunity to work with the FBI, doing some cases as a senior in college. So after I graduated college, they offered me a position. Oh, amazing. So I stayed with them for almost 8 years. Wow. Almost 8 years.
Wow. Now, but you hadn't met your husband yet?
No, I didn't meet my husband until 1982. I met my husband in Denver, Colorado. Okay. And that's a story within itself because it's like, I didn't want to do law enforcement anymore. I didn't want to go into the prisons anymore. Right. My thing was, I want to keep people out. Let me just see what I can do to help people, you know, stay out of prisons. Thus, law school. Right. So then, it was like, okay, Texas was great, but my brother was there. You know, he was still keeping an eye on little sister. Right. I want to go somewhere where I know no one. Okay. So I moved to Denver, Colorado. Okay. I did not have a job in Denver, Colorado, and I had a son, little Joseph. I recently lost him in 2019 in a horrible car accident here in Florida. God rest his soul. Yeah. My heart always. Yeah. But Joseph was 1. Okay. And I went home for about 8 months. And I tried to work in a factory, a sewing factory.
At home?
Yeah, because I'm the type, I love to work. I don't care what it is. So I went to the Guardian factory in Carthage, and the guy hired me because he knew my parents. Right. I couldn't sew a lick. I was breaking needles. I was you know.
You did all of what
I was messing up some inventory.
Yeah.
So he went to my dad. He didn't want to fire me.
Okay.
And he says, your daughter just not cut out for this kind of work.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I knew that. I just wanted something to do. I decided one day that, okay, it's going to be New Orleans, where I had family, or Denver, Colorado, because my son's father lived in Denver. And he had told me about the opportunities for black women in Denver. And so Joseph and I got in the car one day, and we headed to Denver, Colorado. And I drove right into the La Quinta Hotel at Mississippi and Chambers. Got a newspaper. Started looking at jobs. The following morning, that Monday morning, we drove in over the weekend, and this is no lie. That Monday morning, I found this position. I said, you know what? I'm going to go in. Didn't have a babysitter, really didn't know anyone there except for his dad, and his dad was married, so I couldn't, call him. So Joseph and I go to Oppenheimer Shareholder Services. I walked in with my resume, didn't have an appointment. I got hired on the spot.
Amazing.
They hired me in the legal department.
Wow.
And one of the ladies in HR, I told her my situation. She gave me a listing of some apartments that was close by and some babysitters.
Wow.
And that's where I got my start on my own with my son.
Wow.
And then about 8 months later, I met this man called Willie Calloway.
Willie.
And we met on a blind date because the people that I was working with, they're like, you need a life. Because I would go to work, and it was just me and my son. That was my life. Well, we had, and they kept telling me about this guy. Never told me he was going through a divorce, and I had this thing in my life. I don't deal with married men. If you're single, that's one thing. If you're just divorced, that's another thing. But I felt like if a man or a woman is going through divorce, there's still an opportunity, especially with children involved. They could possibly get back together. Even though he was telling me, no, I got my own place, I'll never go back. So I met him, we started dating, and it was funny. Even though I knew he was going through the divorce, the day we met on a Thursday, we've not been apart since that day.
That's amazing.
And like I told you, June 24th, we will be celebrating our 40th year anniversary.
That's amazing. Wow.
And we joined our families together. So then I ended up with 4 kids instead of 1. And the biggest support system I've had in my life has been my husband.
That's amazing.
Other than my parents.
Man, big ups, Mr. Calloway. Big ups. Oh, wow. That is so cool. So now you got stuff going down in Denver. When did Florida come about?
Florida came about in 2004.
Wow.
My husband's job, they were doing a big layoff at AT&T. He had worked at AT&T for 28 years.
Wow.
He wasn't old enough to retire, and so he started working at the airport in Denver because he had connects there that he got onto this job. And they were working with Elite Line Services, who built the baggage system. And I'm sure you've heard of the stories about the baggage system in Denver, where they perfected it. So the next contract they got was in Detroit at McNamara Airport. They wanted to put the same baggage system there. So here we go off to Detroit. I got a position at a law firm in Detroit and was a traveling trial paralegal during that time. We were I was in West Palm Beach, Florida, 13 weeks doing a trial. And the client, we represented the big 3. So I couldn't go home a lot. So one weekend I had planned to go home, but the judge didn't do the blackout day, so I missed the flight. And I was very upset, and so I was talking to the client, and I said, I really miss my daughter. My son was grown, but I had a daughter at home. And he says, well, I'll just fly them down.
What?
I said, okay, thank you. So I called my husband and my daughter. They got ready. They flew them down, took care of us the whole weekend. It was a fabulous trip because neither one of us had never visited Florida. So we were driving down 95, taking my daughter to an event that the client had bought for her that she was too young to go to. It was one of those big concerts.
Okay.
But she was 16.
Oh,
you know,
okay.
16-year-olds think they're grown anyway. So we got a chance to walk around Miami down by Bayside, I think
Bayside,
it is.
yep. Mm-hmm.
And we were like, this is beautiful. And I said, you know what? This is the kind of place I want to live in.
Yeah.
So that Sunday, they fly back home. And I said, you know, that was just a conversation.
Right.
It was about a week or so later, I'm sitting in the courtroom and I get a text from my husband saying, are you serious about moving? If you had the chance, you would move to Florida. And I looked at it. I look at the judge. I look at the attorney sitting beside him. He says, are you okay? I said, no, I need to call my husband.
Yeah.
So I walk out and I call him and he says, Southwest Florida Airport is building a new airport, and they want my design for the baggage system at the new airport. What do you think about moving to Florida? And I says, well, I love Florida. I don't want to leave here now.
Yeah.
So over the next couple of weeks or so, I started inquiring about Fort Myers. People in West Palm Beach on the other coast says, oh, that's paradise.
Yeah.
You'll love it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful. You'll love it.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, okay, if I love West Palm, I'm definitely going to love Fort Myers.
Right.
I fly back to Detroit. My husband and I, about a month later, come down so that he could talk with his new team at the new airport that wasn't built yet.
Right.
And we started looking at Fort Myers. I said, this is not Florida. I don't know what this is, but this is not Florida.
Yeah.
And so, but he had accepted the contract and the job, so here we come.
Yeah.
So in 2005, June 4th at 4:08 p.m., we pulled into our home here in Fort Myers.
Oh, man.
That's how we got here.
Very undeveloped.
Very undeveloped. My daughter, you know, was going into high school, and she was going to go to Cypress Lake High School, but the first week we were home, she and I was trying to get the house together. We walked out of the house one day and was going to go to Walmart right over on Gladiolas.
Right.
That sun came down, hitting us so hard, because mind you, we had lived in Detroit and Denver.
Right.
Different kind of heat.
Yes.
We like, we ain't going nowhere. We went back in the house, both of us, and went to sleep on the couch and waited until nighttime to go to the Walmart. But and so my daughter really didn't like it at first, so we sent her back to Denver for a couple of months to stay with her older siblings because she was having a fit.
She was.
She didn't know we didn't know anyone.
Yeah.
It wasn't like West Palm Beach.
Right.
Wasn't nowhere for her to go.
Right.
So she went back for a couple of months, but after she started school at Cypress Lake, she met a lot of friends, and it was uphill from there.
That was beautiful.
We decided we loved Fort Myers.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Not a lot to do.
Yeah.
But we would travel to Tampa,
Yeah.
Miami, Fort Lauderdale, you know, for different things like that when we were a little bit younger from when we moved here, because we've been here 18 years now.
Oh, okay. So at this time you were still paralegal.
At this time, I was still paralegal. My first job was at Henderson Franklin.
Oh, really?
Yes, Henderson Franklin. While my husband and I were here looking for a home, I interviewed, the realtor actually was the one that dropped me off at Henderson Franklin.
Yeah.
I interviewed, they made the offer right there. So when I came back, I gave them a start date, and that's what I started doing. I never wanted to practice law.
Okay.
I wanted to teach, and I had been teaching at Denver University. I was one of the advocates because we taught dependent and neglect for children. It seemed like I was always in the service part.
Right.
And I liked that, helping others.
Yeah.
And teaching at the Rocky Mountain Children's Law School and collaborating with Denver University School of Law, we were able to bring in third-year law students to become special advocates for children. And we implemented a program and that is still going on now in Denver, Colorado, and some of the surrounding counties, where we had a pilot program for these students to go in and work with judges to advocate for these children. Some were appointed guardian ad litems, and some, you know, were just in it just to get the experience to be in a courtroom. So I started training lawyers in the courtroom. Mm-hmm.
So quite a few of the lawyers here is very familiar with you.
Yes, I went from Henderson Franklin to Russell and Andress.
Okay.
And stayed at Russell and Andress, and I went into a field I was very unfamiliar with because in Denver and Detroit, I never knew about eminent domain.
Okay.
But Russell and Andress hired me to work with one of the best eminent domain attorneys.
Mm-hmm.
But that attorney was not a hands-on person.
Oh, no.
You know, I was a great paralegal because I was teaching.
Right.
And so, therefore, he allowed me the opportunity to learn the field. And when I tell you I learned eminent domain,
Right.
I learned eminent domain.
Yeah.
I worked with the county attorneys. I worked with the appraisers. I learned how to read appraisal reports. I did all of that.
Wow.
But in the downturn in 2008, there was not a lot of takings anymore.
Oh, okay.
So I started looking. I'm one that liked to grow up.
Yeah.
So there was this other firm that had a position in management open. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, you know what? I don't want management. I want to still stay in paralegal.
Yeah.
They had a local firm here and 19 offices in the state of Florida. Offices in D.C., New Jersey, and New York. A large firm, but the base office was in Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
When I went for the interview, now I'm interviewing for a paralegal's position.
Right.
The owner of that firm, and I can call his name now, God rest his soul, Gary Polyakov.
Yeah.
We talked, and he says, I need a good manager in Fort Myers. And that's when my career started with Becker and Polyakov in 2008.
Okay.
Managing, at that time I had only 2 offices. I managed the Fort Myers and Naples office.
Okay.
Then they added Sarasota. Then they added Tampa.
Wow.
Then they added Orlando. Then they added West Palm Beach.
My.
So then it became a regional management position.
Okay.
And I'm telling you, it was the best experience for me, helping to build, organize, and structure that law firm support staff the way it should be.
That's amazing. Mm-hmm. Wow. So you did all that, and then you were like, okay, now what else do I want to do?
Well, the city, how I came into the city, there was some, I don't even know what word to use, I guess disorganization. In the city attorney's office.
Okay.
And it's all public knowledge.
Yeah,
in 2017, the city attorney was going through a lot of turmoil within the office.
Right.
And one of the city council members reached out to me because we were members of the same church and was telling me about this position.
Right.
And I said, well, Doug, that's what I do, reorganize and restructure.
Right.
So, but didn't know what I was getting into.
Right.
You know, but because I was always an assessment investigation type because of my background.
Right.
So I was fortunate enough to be hired to do the job and went into the city attorney's office and I started doing assessments and I'm like, okay, something's wrong with this picture.
Right.
It's not what I think people think it is.
Right.
So to make a long story short, I did some reorganizing. The city attorney did nothing wrong. You know, people have a lot of personality conflicts.
Right.
People perceive things that are not real. And I think that was a lot of what was going on in the city attorney's office. So I made recommendations to the city council.
Okay.
I worked with a transition team that was very hands-on with what was going on because the transition team had been hired by the city council to get someone in to piggyback and be the quarterback to make sure that this city attorney's office could function.
Right.
So I came in and we made some changes and now I'm happy to say that the city attorney is still the city attorney. He has almost a brand new staff.
Okay.
Some people take positions or are put in positions in the workforce where it's just not a good fit.
Right.
So all of the employees that was there were great people, but having the experience required to represent a city of this nature, you needed to have certain certain things in your background, certain experiences and knowledges that it just didn't have. And Mr. Alley was so nice; he would just hire people. He loved to help people in need, so he brought people in that wasn't qualified to do the work that he needed to do.
Right.
And it just got to be a disruption.
Okay.
So here come Phyllis Calloway in, made the changes, And then I started working with the city manager.
Okay.
And my title changed from legal administrator to legal administrator and advisor.
Right.
Worked with the city manager up until he retired. Went into the interim city manager's job until the new city manager, who's currently here now, came in.
Okay.
Then I went to the assistant director with the CRA, Michele Hylton-Terry.
Yes.
That was a wonderful experience.
Yes.
Knowing, I can say this now, I don't believe I had the experience needed to support the CRA the way the executive director needed.
Right.
But doing a hybrid position as assistant director of the CRA and the director of the Enterprise Center, I found myself focusing more on the Enterprise Center because that was my niche. That was what I could do.
Right.
So when I approached the commissioners about, I was doing a disservice to both because I was being pulled in too many directions. So when I went to the commissioners and they allowed me to take on full-time the Enterprise Center, it's been uphill from there.
That's amazing. Wow. You still connect with?
Oh, absolutely. Michele Hylton-Terry is probably one of the most knowledgeable people I know for redevelopment.
Yes. She is amazing.
She's amazing.
That's a sister of mine.
Yes.
So that's beautiful.
Yes. And I believe now she has a team that can not only support her mission and her goals, but have the experience and knowledge to make it happen.
Yeah, I love that. Now with a lot of the leadership and work that you're doing at the Enterprise Center, because you have done a lot of major developments already, and you've been uplifting a lot of entrepreneurs like myself and other individuals. So,
it's a pleasure.
Hey,
a pleasure.
I got to give you a lot of flowers.
When you grow, I grow.
Yes.
Because I see the fruits of my spirit.
Yes.
And I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
It's like I don't have to own anything. I don't need the accolades. I don't even need to be in the limelight. Because when you go out, it's just like God being omnipresent.
Oh, yeah.
When you go out and do good, that's part of me going out and doing good.
Definitely. And I like that, and I like that your husband support you in everything that you do.
Yes, we just graduated 30 young men and women last Friday at the Oxbow through a rapid recovery pre-construction program.
That's amazing.
These people came to us on February 28th and committed to a 9-week program.
Yeah.
They were given jobs.
Yeah.
They got their Chromebooks.
Wow.
They had all the material, including the boots and the outfits that they need to go to work.
Ready to hit the ground running.
Yes.
Amazing.
And there were a few homeless people that finished the program. There was a young lady that was here from Utah that she told us, had it not been for this program, she was going to take her life.
No.
When you hear stories like that and you're a part of it, that is the success for me. I don't need to be in someone's face saying, well, Phyllis Calloway did this and Phyllis Calloway did that again. It's to see the progress and the successes of others that make me feel good.
That is amazing. Wow. Now you have a great relationship with the city because now you work with them on almost every day.
Yes, I am a director now, and I am hands-on.
Okay.
The city manager, the assistant city manager, all of the directors, we work very closely together. Even though we all have our separate areas, we come together every other week at a directors meeting to talk about things that is beneficial to the city, things that we need to do as a team with the city. And it's just a combined effort. Even though I'm all the way out at the Enterprise Center, I come to City Hall almost every day.
That's awesome.
We work very closely together. And I think now, from when I first came to the city to where we are now, I think the inclusiveness is a lot better.
Wow.
We need better communication, but the inclusiveness is a lot better.
When was the last time you seen Mom?
I saw my mom Thanksgiving of last year.
Okay.
Yeah, everyone, yes, we did Thanksgiving at my house last year.
So Mom still cooks?
Mom still cooks, but I do all the cooking now. When I'm in the room, and I've probably been doing all the cooking since I was 13.
Wow.
That was one thing that, you know, as growing up on a farm, you learn how to do things.
Yeah.
And when you get old enough to turn the stove on or do some of the things that the parents would do, those chores go down to the kids. Yeah. And that's just how we learn.
Yeah. That is amazing. So you visit Mom, what, once, twice a year?
Sometimes twice a year, once a year. Okay. She'll come here. She still flies.
Oh, she does? Okay.
Last year for Thanksgiving, everyone came to my house here in Florida. Wow. For Thanksgiving.
That is amazing. Yeah. So now here, what would you say is next for like the next 2 years?
Well, in the next 2 years, I'm going to put it out there.
Ooh.
I'm looking toward retirement.
You are?
I will be at full Social Security age, so I'm going to tell my age here in a minute. But I want to do, I'm not sure I will retire. I plan to retire from the city within the next couple of years, maybe. It just depends on what's going on at the Enterprise Center, because it's important to me to get someone in there, to get them brought up to speed to where at least we are now, but to have a vision for it to grow even bigger than what I can imagine. And that's what I want for the center.
I love that.
And when I retire, I have also started putting my business plans together, because I plan to consult. My daughter lives in Atlanta, Georgia now. Okay. And my husband and I have been going back and forth. And I have a 4-year-old grandson there. Okay. And because of the way we've traveled and relocated so many times, he's the only grandchild that I can watch grow from I was there at birth. And we see them 4, 5, 6 times a year. Wow. So I'm watching him grow. And my goal is to get to Georgia and open my consulting business where I'm able to help my daughter and be the grandmother for my little Nasir.
I love it. You know, the listeners like, okay, how old is she? And I know that you guys are looking at her. She looks so young.
Oh, no.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, no. And so, because from what I was told, retirement age is 67, right?
Actually, retirement is 62.
Oh, okay.
65, but it's the Social Security part get you, because Social Security you can draw at 62. Right. At 66 and 10 months, I'm eligible for full Social Security. And then anything after 66 and 10 months, it's just an added income for us as we get older. If I work till 70, it would be awesome, but I don't know if I want to do that. My husband retired in 2018. Okay. And I want to be able to live a life where we can still travel and enjoy our vacations. Right. You know, we went to Lagos, Nigeria back in 2017. Yes, loved it. There you go. If it had not been for family here, we would have stayed. Yeah. So we were supposed to go back in 2020, but COVID hit. Right. So we've been kind of putting everything on hold now because I'm so close